Hi everyone, welcome to this IFoEC Focus episode. I'm here with James Torok Thomsen, and I'm delighted to finally have him as a guest. We have a history of working together, and I've been always impressed by the way he conducts himself. And I'm delighted to be able to put the spotlight back onto you today, Coach Torok. So how about we start with who are you and what is your role in esports?
Yeah, so well, as you already formally introduced me, I am Torok, the coach for Team Singularity as of current. Who knows what the future holds? But yeah, I guess I'm a coach within the ARL scenes. Hoping to reach the LEC, hoping to reach LCS one day. Grinding away for the time being whilst I'm at uni, and just trying to push myself as far as I can go, really, with running both things side by side. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome. And you're in Exeter, the UK. Is that
Very
right?
close, Warwick.
Sorry. Oops, my bad.
No,
Yeah.
it's all right. I don't take offense.
Cool. And your work with Singularity, Team Singularity, based in Denmark. And
Yes.
so a lot of working online the last split,
Yeah.
last couple of splits. How did you get into your current role?
Long story, really, but a fun one. I'd like to think so anyway. When I was younger, just loved playing League in general. I was about 14, 15, I guess, is when it really started, which I guess is quite early for a coaching career to take off. But here we go. So I decided to make my own community. Originally, it was called Chronicle Remix, or CRX for short. And it's funny enough, like, some of those people are still in the scene today who were there at that time, and it's really funny because they've come through like later or bumped into me, and it's just hilarious to see some of them around. So a couple of people like Rail, who casts right now in like the UK scene, or Suppins, who's coaching for like the university scene in I think it's Netherlands, but I could be wrong, could be Belgium. Sorry,
Yeah.
sir. They're all around, and basically it was a community of like anywhere ranging from bronze to diamond teams, where just to play together, play in these leagues. We sort of ran ourselves, put people together, and I used to use it as an opportunity to play myself because I couldn't anywhere else, really. So was my sort of thing. So I joined in, hence then reviewing my own team's VODs, hence then reviewing some of the other team's VODs to help them out after I got more experience and got better and better at the game. Hence me enjoying that very much, and therefore posting on the boards about, well, I think at the end of the day I hit up Ego Speed from Bulldog Esports on the boards to be like, hey, you're looking for a coach. What do you need? I'm down, basically. And that's how it started. Yeah.
Amazing. I've always like you mentioned this to me once before, and I love how you sort of you enjoyed being part of that community and you put yourself out there. And I think initially you were very just supportive of building that community within sort of League of Legends and being part of it, even at 14, like young talent. When was the moment that you realized that coaching was what you wanted to do?
I think it was at the end of my worst split, which was with Barrage. And the reason why is because there were a couple things that happened from sort of the beginning of that split to the end of that split, which were really important for me. So, first of all, I'd joined Barrage in spring as like I think I got the job based off an interview that I got because I casted the UK Proving Grounds. I think that was the logic in the end, and so they heard me casting and was like, "Oh,
This guy
wait,
knows something.
yeah, exactly right." So that was a fun way to get into it. But obviously, assistant coach because I'd never coached a super. That was the UKLC team at the time, right? So that was like seen as a very big step up from just sort of the random tournaments I was playing in. And then I ended up becoming head coach like halfway through spring, and then into summer, and I was like 16, 17. I don't know. Feels like a long time ago now because of COVID. It's been like 2 years. I've like gone through a time warp, but
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I mean that was on my last media day, etc. So it's quite funny thinking back that that's the last time I saw people properly in person. But yeah, through that split, it was sort of a big growth process for me because I trusted myself a lot more. And
Mhm.
so I was hating coaching for a lot of that split because it felt so like I was just punching up against like a brick wall because nothing was sticking, nothing was working.
Yeah.
Roster was not winning. Let's put it that way. The help I thought that was going to happen wasn't happening. But I had a really brief interlude halfway through that split with Insomnia,
Mhm.
which I just was allowed to basically take time off the split to go and do because it's quite a big UK event at the time. And I got to go do that with a team called Nox. who just requested me and said like, please help us. Our team is struggling. We're paying people to get here from like Germany and stuff. We don't have an AD carry anymore. Like our coach has left. It's all falling apart. For context, and then we picked up a random carry at the LAN. Managed to get everybody together. I still have the coach jersey with like I think it's a German or Portuguese flag on it with just coach on the back, like reprinted because it was meant to be for another guy. But we ended up going pretty much undefeated throughout that entire tournament. I feel like I had a week to get these people all in shape, and it went so frigging well because I was just doing all the stuff that I personally believed in rather than just doing what I thought might get the team together at Barrage. You know, it was like, okay, what are my ideas and how can I relay this onto this group of players? And it worked. It just worked so well, and the experience was so good that it even meant when I went back to Barrage to like finish off the season, we had relegations, we had all that stuff. You know, suddenly I was allowed to make, you know, obviously in conjunction with the staff there, but I was given a lot more prerogative to choose my own roster swaps. So I brought in Icebreaker, I brought in KDO. KDO even subbed for us on Singularity this split, right? Icebreaker clearly doing very well for himself, right? You know, kept some links with people, but you know, we got relegated in the end, but we relegated to the Barrage team that came up with Kiao, who obviously I was working with very closely to make sure that both of the Barrage teams didn't, you know, did the best they could. So it was kind of like the last game was a fun game in some respects because it was like, well, we were coaching against two teams that knew each other inside and out, so it was quite fun, really. Brilliant. But the amount of fun I had during that was kind of the inspiration to be like, well, actually, coaching really sucked that period of time, and there'll be periods of time where it does suck. Like it will just happen. I've had times after that, like my first split on Singularity was rough, right? But it comes with, you know, also some of the really high highs you can experience. So yeah. I think that was when I realized, like, you know, just the competitive edge, the drive that it gives you, the excitement that it gives me. Like, yeah, coaching's pretty damn fun.
Love that. Great story. You spoke about like sort of what you brought your approach to it, like how you feel you wanted to be as a coach. Where did that come from? Like, it was young when you started. Like, I mean, mid-teen starting coaching is like, that's no small task. Like, where did those influences come from?
I guess some of the influence would have been like, this is outside of league related stuff. I did a lot of goalkeeping when I was younger. I was taught how to organize a defense, you know, these sort of things. And so that was sort of always my job. And I'm a reasonably vocal person, so I don't struggle with that type of thing. So, you know, I didn't mind being a 17-year-old coaching 21 to 25-year-olds. You know, that didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
Just because I didn't feel like out of place in the social hierarchy, if you will. You know, I was just putting myself on their level, and yeah. I was very happy to work on that sort of basis where, yeah, I'm not necessarily higher than you, right? Like, you're a pro player. You know, in my mind at that time, you know, that was a pro player, right? Like, these people are getting paid to play league. I wasn't, right? You know, but I'm here to help you, have good conversations with you, and I can see, well, there are certain things which I think work conceptually in my head. And I mean, that's how discussions start, right? Is I think this works conceptually, you know, what can we do about it? What do you think? And, you know, if people start trusting that, you know, time and time again, when they realize actually there are things you're coming up with here that maybe are stylistically different to what I'm used to, or et cetera, but, you know, let's give it a try and it works, then it also gives you some of that confidence to be like, well, okay, I clearly have some good ideas, so I can keep going, right? You know, so I think that's part of it.
Yeah, it is also, I suppose, it helps that, you know, when we first met, it was during a trial period for a UK-based team, which unfortunately you got a better offer, but understandable.
Happens.
Like, I had no idea that you were, I think, 20 at the time. Like you had a command of you had a leadership sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, you felt like an actual leader, right? So I suppose maybe there is like some communication quality there that like you are sort of naturally gifted in without sort of.
Well, I'd hope so.
Yeah. So I have now worked with you for 2 splits, and I've enjoyed every second of it. It's really been like an honor, because you and the coaching staff at Singularity, so shout out to Kiao, to Pask, to Yalen, you guys work super hard. I have been just so impressed and even sometimes daunted by how many hours you guys put in behind the scenes to like trying out drafts and, you know, talking through stuff that's going on with the team and how can we make things better for everyone. It's amazing to see, and I love the passion you guys have for it. So What would you say is a typical day in your role as a head coach?
I mean, there's the typical day, I guess, which is okay. You have your scrim blocks or you have your unofficial, whichever one it is. There's going to be preparation that's needed for both. There's going to be communicating with both your staff and your players for both, like whichever way that's going to work. And it's just a question of what type of day it is. Of course, there are rest days in between, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But I'd say a typical day is, you're going to be waking up anywhere pretty late on because it's esports and usually things go quite late. So you kind of need to be focused for the afternoon evening period. And so you kind of adapt your sleep schedule to that.
Mhm.
So what you'll find is actually, as much as people would usually say, "I'll be up at 8 a.m." for like a normal good day," what I found myself doing and what some players do as well is you're up at 10 or 11 to kickstart things off, because sometimes you need to be aware and awake and at your best at 10 p.m. at night, right? And you don't want to be swapping that sleep schedule all the time. So that's sort of where you end up somewhere in the world. But you kick off at that time,
Yeah.
and then I guess, well, it's definitely a question of if you've prepped the night before, if you're prepping that morning, because there's always that question, or if it's something you've prepared miles in advance. You've had this in the books for a long time. Either way, there's going to be at least some refreshing you need to do. So you need to look at that material that you've made, make
Mhm.
sure that it's up to date, make sure that you're very happy to present it to players. Often it's reasonably planned in advance, like, okay, my assistant coach has this one this week. Okay, Watson's doing a good performance session this day, whatever's going on. Or, okay, we've got, one of my own, and it's just making sure that's all in place.
Mhm.
Provided that's the case, it's just a question of then what you got to work on, right? Because it does change week to week in esports. As much as there are things there are things that are very slowly evolving. So the meta, in my opinion, is something that's slowly evolving, and you add to and you reduct, and you sort of are constantly looking at it to see how how you stand as a team. Sometimes your team's objectives may shift very drastically week to week because you may realize something, right? Like that's the big reason. You realize this is actually what's not working. A player comes to you with an idea, whatever it is, and you're like, okay, actually this is what we want to turn our attention to. And then you can either have a very drastic pivot in what you're doing, or you can be very happy that this is actually what we've been building towards for people
Yeah.
to do, for people to bring forward, right? And so you can say, well, we've been giving players a lot of responsibility, like we did at Singularity this summer, right? Like we include them a lot in the process. And then when a players band together and say, well, actually this is something that we've been coming up with, what do you think? Can we bring this to a team session? And that aligns with some of the ideas that you already had for the team. You're like, yes, go, 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 right? So it is being flexible. It's being ready to swap between a lot of plans very quickly, because at the end of the day, you're not mind reading the other 5 to 7 people around you, but it's making sure that everyone's meshing and everyone knows what's expected of them in order to achieve like that cohesive team atmosphere and obviously the results everybody wants.
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly attest to that, because I think the way you and the coaching staff at Singularity, the way you guys analyze sort of patch updates and then put them through the filter of, well, what is our team like, and also what is our team goals, and then you guys as the coaching staff, like running through all the scenarios about what are the strengths and weaknesses of a different strategy over another one, and how do we present this back to the team. Yeah, really admirable work there, and a lot of unseen hours, as I said. But yeah, incredible to hear and incredible to sort of witness as well. So, with all that hard work, what do you enjoy most about the role?
I guess putting things through like the 7 different levels of filtration, like to some extent, like actually going through each levels and knowing, I know my players, I
Right.
know my coaching staff, I know my team, right? It's something that's evolving all the time, so I need to know about them more. But I know this much about them right now, and it needs to get to a point where my understanding is good enough to be extremely helpful to them, and hopefully they can work with me well enough to achieve sort of a really good victory or a really good preparation, at least for a match, really good practice session,
Mhm.
whatever that is. I think it's really fun when you actually manage to tap into somebody on that level where you understand them enough that you can almost speak plainly, because you're talking to what they want or what they need to hear or what they actually really want to achieve. Because when you put those sort of 3 things together, and that won't be immediately apparent, you can't give somebody a survey about that, right?
Mhm.
It's more about when you've spent enough time with them that you're both of you are working as a unit, and then obviously hopefully then the team is working as a unit eventually. It feels so satisfying because you can just align. you will find the ways where both of your ideas can come together.
Mhm.
Those ideas will mesh at some point because you're both coming at things from sort of the same problem solving mindset in a way. Like, okay, I want to achieve this thing, you want to achieve this thing. We both work differently, but this is how we can work together to achieve it. And when that happens, that's like mint. That's what we want. So
Love that. Love
we do
that.
enjoy that. We do enjoy those moments, but however frequent or infrequent they are, it can change. But very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that description. I might use that as a soundbite. So, with that in mind, across sort of all the teams you've worked with, and we should also say that you continued that trend of helping out sort of amateur orgs and teams in your free time just to sort of help yourself develop, right? To get more experience. I know you worked with a team recently for a weekend, right? Just one tournament. I forget which one it was. How was that? Can we go into that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so I find it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Personally, to come in and I'll do all the small events. I'll do little tournaments and these types of things that don't clash with the main job I'm doing. That nobody will mind that I'm doing it because it's just extra work for me at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Because you get a lot of different perspectives. I got a lot of reads off that weekend about certain things that were coming in or out of meta, and some contacts which I kept throughout the rest of the summer split. These players aren't obviously in the same bracket as the squad I had on Singularity, but it doesn't mean they're not capable of thinking, right? They can come up with very, very good ideas, and those ideas can be carried into the teams I'm working with. And so I find it a lot of fun, one, to take a step back and join a team that is just trying to promote into the UKL. I think is what the team I helped out with, right, was, versus a team that is at the top of the NLC pyramid, because you just discover different things, and sometimes they're there first, right? Because they're the team, that if they're looking for every edge they can get for a weekend, that's a lot of thinking, right? that they've explored every edge. So you can figure those things out. Just because they're lower down does not mean these players are not obsessed with trying to win or trying to showcase themselves as well, right? And they're obviously doing very well for themselves now. So
Absolutely.
proud of those boys.
Yeah. They're there because they want to compete, and I think obviously working with a coach gives them another angle. And like you say, it's experience for you, right? Working with a different set of players. I love the idea that you get something from that you can then take different perspectives, diverse opinions. Yeah, brilliant. What has been your proudest moment to date as a coach? And this can be across any of your teams.
I still think my proudest, and it's like a mix between two. The Insomnia win was big because that team going from like trash to undefeated was pretty insane. Picking up a random carry from the LAN hall, who then I'm still friends with them now. Is like that is really special, and I think that's a really exciting thing. I think the biggest isolated achievement though is probably when I joined a team called Kenty. They were a Baltic Masters team. This was about 2020 spring, I think. And to be clear, this team was pretty bad. I don't think any of the players would hesitate to say that. Just this was before the Baltic League got a little bit better with like Gaskilla coming in and some of these other organizations that were more involved. It was very much a group of almost friends who were just playing because they were very good. They knew each other, and they wanted to win Baltic, go to EU Masters, right? So they had a lot of intent behind them. But I think the really special thing is I was brought in as they got to EU Masters. I was working with a bunch, a coach that was already there. I was working with Kiao, who came in at the same time as me. Obviously, had connected with him before on Barrage, and so we sort of put our heads together whilst the other coaching staff was, struggling a little bit because they'd been working so hard the entire split, and they were maybe out of ideas on what they could do. I think the brilliant thing is they got involved with some of the ideas that me and Kiao were proposing, and we kind of got to go ham with some of our craziness, and the players got involved with the craziness as well. And so it just became such a special atmosphere because we all knew that, yes, we're not expected to win a single game, right? Like, I think the expectation for me coming in was like, please try and help us not go 0-6, right? Yeah. And then by the end of the first day, because you have sort of 3 games on the first day, we had a realistic chance of leaving groups, and just at the end of that night where, I'd just come off the Bifrost split, we hadn't got exactly what we wanted, but I'd had a lot of fun. I took those same ideas we had at Bifrost, plugged them into this Kenty team, and everyone just ran with it. And I think that was really special because we were doing lane swaps, we were doing all sorts of just so much fun, very team specific, like specified strategies. We got the win over Mad Lions, targeting the fact they never blinded their support. So we said, okay, we've got side selection, we're going red side, we're going to hold our support until we get a counter pick, no matter what. And you're going to take the hardest counter pick in the game to what they're playing, no matter what. Like you're just going to first time it if you have to, right? And I've just got this guy, I think it's called Kevin. His first ever split, and he's just there, like, yeah, come on, like send me in. I'll literally, I'll play whatever, right? And then it turned out the best pick in the situation as a counter pick, which obviously we had planned for to some degree, but we didn't know if we'd get it, was his main champion was Blitzcrank, and it didn't get banned. We got it in the best situation possible. That's what we were aiming for. And then he just went off for like an hour. I think the game was like an hour long, but he was just playing the game of his life. And it was just, yeah, I think it was really special at the end of that night with all those players, because we'd beaten Mad Lions, we'd beaten for the win from Portugal, who was supposed to get out of the group, and we ran it. I think we ran it so close versus Diffuse kids. Like the lane swap worked perfectly. We were off to a good start. And we just didn't manage to clinch it. And I think that was a really special moment for me, because it was just one of those where the team should have done well. We all knew that we were meant to go 0-6, right? So then we came out the first day like, yeah, we can leave groups. It was like, yes. We didn't in the end, but it was brilliant. Like it was just fun. And I think that's really special.
Underdog mentality, right? There's nothing to lose.
Ultimately, it was ultimate underdog mentality, but it's so fun.
Yeah, I love to hear it, man. And I can feel it. Like I can feel the energy from here, like how positive that must have been, because I think, I guess, especially for being from the UK, like we always love the underdog.
Yes.
Right? So being part of that as it's working must have been really special. Say, what is your dream future in esports? And you can talk as long term as you want or as short term, but yeah, what's the dream future?
Well, it's a really difficult thing. It's something I've been trying to figure out for myself, because it's like esports is brilliant when it's working for you, but it's also one of the largest Wild Wests, I think, out there in terms of like how it operates. And you've got to be really careful of that side of things, because you want to believe what you're doing will last permanently. You'll keep growing. Everything will be fine, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, you're also very much aware that within 3 weeks, everything could change, right? And so I guess the dream future is, well, I'm aiming to finish my degree now, unless something crazy happens. I'm not saying no. If somebody wants to come call me up from the LEC before then, that's fine. But aiming to finish my degree, run exactly parallel to that. I'll just workaholic it. Parallel lines. We'll have esports and degree going at full tilt, and then idea being is after 2 years I can curve into the realm of potentially being on a top ERL team, being in the LEC. And after uni, just running with esports as far as I can until it goes, really, because I think hopefully there's an opportunity there, and I think it can become a very satisfying job, which is the reason I think ultimately I want to pursue it, right? It's just there is an excitement there, there's competition there, and if that can be my full-time work, then I'm all for it, right? It's sort of the thought process. And then if I can be in LEC, if I can get to Worlds, then great, right? I'd like to think that's possible. Maybe it's not yet. I hope in 2 years I can keep developing towards that goal, and in the meantime I guess I've got my backup in case everything falls short, right? But that's where my brain is.
I have no doubt that you're going to have a long and very successful career as a head coach. I think your work ethic is second to none, and I love the way you think about sort of bringing a team together. But we should just perhaps mention you have a really interesting degree as well. It's politics and
international studies, so a mix of international relations, security. Like it puts in a little bit more stuff than just the old I guess traditional politics. So it's quite funky.
No doubt there are topics that come up in that course that have helped you as a head coach, but we don't need to delve into that. So let's say we fast forward 5 years, you're thriving as a head coach in the LEC. You've been to Worlds multiple times. What advice do you give to the next generation of coaches following in your footsteps?
I think the most important thing is, if you are coaching, is to not try and copy anybody else, in the sense that you can learn a lot of things from YouTube, from VODs, from opinions that people give. It's brilliant as a starting point, but what you want to do is create your own specialization, your own niche, and the most important thing, it's a niche that you enjoy working in, I think is the key. So having that ability to say, well, this is the specialization that I'm proud of, and this is something that I can bring, which I just love doing. And whether that's something really basic, like it doesn't have to be something fancy, it doesn't have to be something extremely unique, but just something you're very good at and you find very satisfying, it is probably the number one starting point, because the other skills will come. You'll have to be a bit of a generalist. I assume in 5 years' time, it's not going to be developed enough yet where there's not going to be some level of generalizing needed, especially when you're on your way up, right? But what's going to give you the most satisfaction and what hopefully will give you the motivation to keep going is your own little niche that you really enjoy. And you won't be able to explore it all the time. Like, there will be players which you can explore it with. There'll be teams that you can explore it with. There'll be others that you can't. But when you get those moments where everything's working as you sort of envisage it, and it's what you most believe in, then I think that's when you'll find sort of the best experiences, the best moments that you'll actually remember. Whether you manage to make it to the LEC or not, right? Those will stay with you for a long period of time as like really happy memories. I think that's the satisfying part.
Excellent. So like, be authentic and find out like what your sort of coaching identity is, what makes you tick.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah. Well, that wraps up the IFoEC Focus for this week. Coach Torok, it's been an honor to sort of explore your journey so far and think about the next steps that you have. And I hope people have felt like I have, that you are a positive force for coaching in esports, because I have really been impressed, as I've said, over the months working with you. And I look forward to seeing what the next steps are and where this journey takes you.
Thank you.
Cool, man. All right, then. Thanks for watching, everyone, and see you next time.